Hello everyone, time for our second lecture, screencast on news stories. You've seen this before. Story structures. This is now when we get into extra information. You all would like to believe and hope that a news story should end with the lead, but unfortunately there needs to be more than just the lead. There needs to be something of interest in the story to make it valuable for the reader. The rest of the article includes interesting facts, whereas the first part was important information. The rest of the story needs to contain interesting facts. There are three ways to do this. There is the inverted pyramid, there is the storytelling pattern, or there is in chronological order. If you have a longer article, you may combine any two or maybe even all three of them to present your idea, but those would be more once you have more experience or a story that is more rich or more complex than a basic news story, everyday news story. The inverted pyramid, as you can see here, is a triangle turned upside down. It's not on the base, but it is on the tip. It begins with the lead, then it goes on to the most important details, the less important details, and then finally the least important details. In this method, you do not expect or you do not require the reader to get all the way to the end. That is why the least important details are there. If they have a strong interest or some connection, the reader has some connection to the story, they might get all the way to the end. I happen to always be one of those people that almost always goes to the end of articles, but that is not the norm. So this method is good because there are readers that are just flipping through trying to get the most important information. It's good for beginning journalists such as you. Headline writers like it because it has a lot of punch and quickness to it. And the page layout editors like it as well because they can more easily snip or cut out information if the article is too long or it takes up too much space or they need space for other things. For the newspaper for some various reasons. It is beneficial because it doesn't waste time, doesn't force the reader to waste time on unimportant parts. The storytelling pattern is a little more developed and a little more complicated to do. It does capture the interest without being as obvious, so therefore it is not always a news event. It might be a feature article of some sort for the reader to look at. So it's not a news event that happened that day or within the last couple of days. It might be something that's going on, or the journalist has spent some time researching this subject. It, just like any story, has a beginning, middle, and end, and it ends with what is called a clincher or a kicker. Gives the reader something to remember without and I have a spelling error. Repetition. It should be repetition. Delete the A. I will fix that later. The circle kicker is another type that returns right back up to the opening paragraph. I'm not expecting you to really do this pattern, but I want you to know about it and recognize it when you see it in other writing. Chronological is the opposite of the inverted pyramid one. It is similar to the storytelling method, but as you can see, it goes from the lead to some foreshadowing to something. Then you tell the story from the beginning, outlining the events as they happen without any interpretation or without any commentary. You are simply presenting the facts of the story, and then it comes to a climax at the end. Again, this is another one that is not a simple, straightforward news event that happened in the day and is just want to get it out there. This might be a feature or some human interest story of some kind for a feature part of a newspaper. When you are writing your articles, you must consider who wants to read this story. What audience? Is it for business people? Is it for agricultural people? Is it for teenagers? Is it for senior citizens? Make sure you're considering that. And once you do that, what is the personal connection that the reader has to this story so that you can keep them involved and interested in what is happening? Is there any way the reader can use this information in the future, in their daily life, in their job, or anything like that? And at the end, will the reader want to know more? There's two things here. If it's a simple news story or a news event, if the reader wants to know more, then maybe you haven't done your job. If it's a human interest or some kind of feature article, it may lead to the reader continue reading your column or whatever, or cause the reader to reach out to this person or this organization or whatever you've been featuring in order to get more information or become involved. So it's not a bad thing if the reader wants to know more, if you have a special type of story. Please, very important, we are dealing with a rash of what is called fake news out there, and there's a difference between fake news and false news, and we can maybe that will become a third screencast that I will do to share the difference between real news, fake news, and false news. But is this a true story? Is this really what happened? In the story, is the story and people treated kindly in the story? Do you just simply report the facts, give them some place to feel human and recognized and respected in the story? And is all of the story itself necessary, and the information that you give necessary for the reader? If there's anything superfluous in it or unnecessary, just extra information, why is it there? Or is it information that might push the reader to think a different way or have a certain taste or opinion about this story? Then maybe you're not being as truthful or showing us as much integrity as you need to. All right? So your story structure is going to be based on your content. The inverted pyramid tends to be for news events, things that are short, whereas the other two, the chronological and the narrative, tend to be for human interest or more developed or more researched stories. And please always keep your reader in mind when you write your articles. Thank you very much, and look for a third one on real news, false news, and fake news.